Elisa Parker. We're broadcasting live here from the Wild and Scenic Film Fest Media Lounge. This is our 16th year. We are based in downtown Nevada City, and also this festival takes place in Grass Valley, California. And we have a tour that goes across the country as well. So over this weekend, we have several thousand social change makers, everyday action heroes that come here, like Teresa Baker, who converge together. And our theme this year is groundswell. So there is certainly a rise up that is happening, and you feel it, don't you, right. Teresa? You feel it when you're here.
Absolutely.
What is it? So Teresa Baker, she is the founder of the Women's Outdoor Summit for Empowerment. And also, what is the film that you're screening here this weekend?
Diversity and Inclusion in Our Wild Spaces.
Diversity and Inclusion in Our Wild Spaces. When is that film screening?
At the panel today, 2:30 at the Activist Center.
Okay. Is this your first time here in Nevada City, or
No,
at least no? Okay.
No. I first came here 2 years ago with the Muir Project, who was with us in Yosemite when we filmed Diversity and Inclusion in Our Wild Spaces. So that was my first introduction to Nevada City, and I'm addicted now.
You're addicted.
I'm addicted.
There is a vortex here, Teresa, that'll pull you in. Teresa even talked about last night about bringing the Women's Outdoor Summit here to Nevada City.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about the film.
The film is about, of course, the outdoors, but the absence of people of color in the outdoors. That's clear here, just walking around Nevada City. But when you look at outdoor brands, you don't see people of color represented. So the assumption is that we're not in these outdoor spaces, and that's the narrative that we're trying to erase. So I'm working with Patagonia and others to help get the word out about the importance of including faces of color in marketing campaigns, on the boards of environmental organizations. So that's what it's about. It talks about what the National Park Service can do and others can do to help be more inclusive around the environmental movement and just outdoor spaces in general.
Right. So in addition to the branding and marketing, what are some of the key things that you're sharing with groups like the National Parks Association, for example, around diversity and inclusion?
Right. Just helping them to be more inclusive in their recruitment of staff, because the makeup of the Park Service is 82% white. It's a 100-year-old agency, and it's 82% white. So we're trying to work with them to help get more faces of color in the organization. And we just do a lot of fun things. We get outdoors, like we go to Yosemite, we go to the Grand Canyon, and I partner with the National Park Service to bring communities of color into these spaces.
That's fantastic, Teresa. Where does your own motivation and passion stem from around this? And we were talking earlier too with John DeGraff about connection to land. So I'm curious about your own personal story around that too.
I just love the outdoors, period. And this work started, again, out of frustration. That's what most of my work is geared around, is me being frustrated. On a trip to Yosemite, I was there for an entire week, and I did not see one other person that looked like me. There are people from Japan and Germany, but from here, from this country, not one person. So that's when I reached out to various organizations to say, let's work together to change this. And that's how this all came about.
Tell us about the Women's Empowerment Summit.
The Women's Outdoor Summit for Empowerment came about last year. I was in touch with Kelly Martin, the fire chief at Yosemite, and I was speaking to her about matters of diversity. And it was at that time she said, Teresa, you should really focus on sexual harassment in the National Park Service. And I was like, that's not my thing. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And then when she went before Congress to testify, it was then that I said, just because I don't know what to do doesn't mean I should do nothing. So that started the Women's Outdoor Summit for Empowerment.
What do you want to say to people, Teresa, about, you speak to making what seems impossible possible, right? So what do you want to say to that around the importance right now, I think more than ever, about why it's so important for people to engage and to be able to, we're going beyond we're testing boundaries and we're going beyond that right now.
Right.
What do you want to say to that, and also how that's just applied in your own personal life?
I believe in speaking up. If you see something that needs addressing, address it. Even if you're the only one addressing it, other people have some of the same issues. And once one person speaks up, everyone starts to join in. So I would just tell people, don't be afraid to be the first one, because that's what makes a difference. A lot of people told me that, just be quiet and talk behind the scenes, but I'm just not a behind the scenes type person.
Right.
If I see something that needs addressing, I'll address it. And that's why I do the work on diversity and inclusion, and now women's issues in the outdoors.
Since you've started doing this and being someone that's taken the lead around this, especially diversity and inclusion, and as it relates to, the outdoors and connecting with the land,
Right.
have there been others now that are joining up to align with you and other groups now that you're showing there is it's important and it's possible, and, here's how we can do it?
Right. There are a lot of groups out there working on matters of diversity and inclusion. Lynn Nessifer with Natives Outdoors, Glenn Nelson with the Trail Posse. You have Latino Outdoors, Frank and Audrey Peterman in Florida. There are groups across the country that are doing this work, but you wouldn't know it because we're absent from social media feeds and everywhere else, publications, outside. Magazine, we just did a huge article on this. So we need visibility, and that's part of the problem. But there are a lot of people out here doing this work, and a lot of others are stepping up, like Patagonia and like Marmot. So we need people to come to us, reach across the table and put some skin in the game and show that you care, because ultimately this work is about getting people in these outdoor spaces to help fight these environmental issues.
Right. The theme this year is groundswell. Right. So how has that applied to you in this last year? When I think of groundswell, I think of like we're rising up from the mud. It feels thick sometimes, and then there is that emergence.
Right.
And it's not on our own.
All right.
What does that look like for you, and especially in the last year?
This work is not easy.
It's not easy, right?
We upset a lot of people when we talk about diversity and inclusion, especially because they feel that this is the outdoors, everyone is welcome, but not everyone feels welcome. And that's the message we're trying to get out there. If we go into a meeting with an environmental company, and we're the only person of color in that room, and when I go to web pages and I look up their board and their staff, and I don't see anyone that looks like me, that's intimidating to some. Right. So it's important to speak up and continue to fight this fight. It's hard, but it's worth it in the end. If we claim, everyone here at Wild and Scenic who claims to care about the environment, you'll care about the absence of people of color in this work.
Right, here. And what do you want to say to everyone about why it's so important to come down to a festival like Wild and Scenic?
Oh, it's amazing films here, amazing people. I invite everyone, especially in the Bay Area, to come on down. We have a panel we're doing at 2:30 at the Activist Center on this very topic. You'll meet some amazing people, see some amazing film, and this is a beautiful area. So yeah, I encourage everyone to come on down.
Teresa Baker, you are amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the lead around
absolutely.
this. I know what you say, it's not always easy.
Right.
But it's good by you doing this, and others will be joining. That's the groundswell as well.
Thank you.
Groundswell, rising up. That's what's happening here at Wild and Scenic Film Fest. I'm Elisa Parker, and let's support. Let's
Absolutely.
support. I'm Elisa. We'll be right back. Thanks so much.